knowing what to do in the gym or just in your workouts in general, if you're working out at home, when you're pregnant, when you're a new mom, when you're a mom whose body has just been affected by pregnancy, which is literally everybody that's had a baby, and even when you are a personal trainer or an instructor or anybody working in the fitness industry that works with pregnant women and moms, and especially new moms. It can be so challenging. I know this for a fact because I have been all of these things. I've been pregnant. I've been a new mom. I'm a mom whose body's been affected by pregnancy. I'm an instructor. I'm a personal trainer. I've been all these things. And I've also taken tons of classes and worked with other personal trainers. So I know how important it is because I have seen some really good things done and I have seen some not so great things done. And that's why I invited my colleague and friend, Erica Zeal, on to the broadcast today to talk about some of these things because she is here. Well, she has programs that help pregnancy and new moms and veteran moms. But what's most exciting is that she also just launched a program to help trainers and instructors be pre- and postnatal certified and help these women, which might be you. So I really encourage you, before I have Erica come on, to share this broadcast with anybody in any of those categories. And if you don't know anybody in any of those categories, you don't know anybody. So please feel free to share this broadcast, whether you're watching it live here or whether you're watching whether you're watching the replay. And this will be up on my Facebook page, obviously, because you're watching it right now, or it will also be on my YouTube channel. So whether you're watching it in either of those places, please feel free, live or in the replay, to ask your questions. And if Eric and I can get to them live, we will. And if not, we will get to them later, especially if you post them later. And we're going to get Erica on here. Okay, before I do, in case you don't know me, my name's Sarah Haley. I am also a pre- and postnatal exercise specialist, and I've gotten to know Erica because we work in the same industry, and she specializes a lot in Pilates and yoga, and I specialize in like the counter aspects of cardio and strength conditioning. She kind of does everything too, but that's how I love meeting people in the industry who complement what I do and who have similar philosophies, and Erica definitely has all of that. So let's hope this works, and let's see if we can get her on.
Hi. Okay. Well,
I
sorry.
am so glad to have her on. She's coming in from Iowa, from the good old Midwest. And Erica, why don't you just give everybody a little bit of a background? I mean, first of all, obviously, I'll get into this later probably, but I'm so glad that you're doing all this because you are a mom that gets it. So give us a little background on motherhood and on what you do.
Well, thank you so much, Sarah, for having me. I'm so excited to just talk about all this. Well, yes, I am a mom of 3. My oldest is 10 now. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I have a 10-year-old. But so I feel like I've been in this world for quite some time, and actually always had an interest in prenatal training way back even in college. So it was like just something I feel like I was meant to do. And then having my own kids, right, it definitely stirs up your own interest in learning more. And so I graduated from Iowa State. My degree is in health and human sciences, like kinesiology basically is my background. So I have that background. And then I also have my personal training background. Once I moved to California years ago, I went on and did all my Pilates training on the Reformer and Cadillac. And so that's what I really love to do with my in-person clients. But as far as online, I love teaching the foundational concepts of the Pilates, of the functional training, about fascia, because there's so much that we can do as moms, and our bodies change so much that the body goes through so much that there's so much that we can do so that we feel better. Because I mean, being a mom's hard work, right? It's exhausting, it's tiring, sometimes the pain that comes along with it. And my biggest thing is I really want moms to understand that there are things that you can do, simple things even sometimes, to really help you to feel so much better so that you're not in pain. Because it's hard enough being a mom, let alone dealing with aches and pains and diastasis and pelvic floor issues and, all of that comes along with motherhood. And no one talks about
All of
enough.
these things that we don't talk about, right? All these things that we don't
Right.
talk about until somebody brings them up and makes you aware. So with that said, what would you say, and you guys, if you have your questions, this is definitely the time to ask, and that's why I was trying to pull this, okay, I can see it here. Everybody on here is a mom. There are a couple personal trainers on
Awesome.
here as well, and I'm sure there will be tons on the replay too. What are some of the biggest mistakes that you see? Let's start with expecting moms. So,
Okay.
because we do have a few expecting moms on the show too. By the way, congratulations, Allison. I haven't had a chance to tell you congratulations. So what are the biggest mistakes you see expecting moms make?
The number one is the ab exercises. And I know it's challenging because there's a lot of conflicting information out there, right? But yeah, when I see a mom doing crunches on a ball, it makes me cringe because there's no functional purpose to doing that. And again, it's just partly because it's not really known, it's not taught. And there is so much conflicting information, but doing the ab exercises, and I like to think of it as doing more core exercises. That's the big one, is the ab work. And then the other piece of that is lifting too heavy. And I'm going to talk about it. Let's bring it up today about pelvic organ prolapse and pelvic floor issues, because that is something that a lot of women deal with, incontinence, or even the extreme of, I guess, with the pelvic organ prolapse. And by the time that happens, there's so much that we could be doing to help prevent it, and especially in the fitness industry. And it's not talked about. Women could get together in a class and they feel like they pee themselves a little bit, and they might ask another woman, oh, well, and she'll say, well, that's normal. It's not normal to pee yourself in a workout class.
And for those of you guys who don't know what she's talking about, here's the reason why it's not talked about. So a prolapse is when either your uterus or your bowel or your bladder starts to protrude outside of your vagina. So talk about, like, you want to talk about that with your male personal trainer that you're working out with. I mean, this is why we don't talk about it, because it's super uncomfortable. And I've had many women say to me, well, everything feels okay, except I kind of feel like my vagina is like dropping, or something maybe is coming out of it. Well, it's probably because something is. And you may not actually see it, right? I mean, that's our severe cases, is when you actually are seeing it come out. Mm-hmm. But there's different levels of that where you obviously don't want to get to that level where that's starting to happen. It's starting to get closer and closer to the opening of the vagina. And again, I mean, just by me talking about this out loud, I'm a little uncomfortable, I'll be quite honest. So no wonder it's not talked about. And I know a couple of you on here are pregnant with number 2 and number 3. And I think what you're going to find, which is, I think, Erica, I've said this to you before, and a couple of the other women on here, is I would be so interested for somebody to do a study with, for instance, CrossFit, women who continue to do CrossFit during their pregnancies, and see if I would gather that most of the women that continue to do CrossFit during their pregnancies, it's their first pregnancy, because their pelvic floor is so strong and they feel like they can lift all this incredible weight.
Right.
But for some of you guys who have just entered your second pregnancy, and even third, I can tell you, for one, I feel everything. If in case you didn't know, I'm 31 weeks pregnant. I can feel everything so much more this pregnancy, and I'm sure some of that has to do with mistakes, unfortunately, that I've made in the past. So even if you can't feel it, like, take what Erica and I are saying to heart, because even though it doesn't feel good now, I mean, even if it feels good now and you're like, jumping rope like a crazy woman or lifting heavy, it's not going to feel so good down the road, either in your postnatal recovery or come baby number 2, 3, 4, 5.
Right. And the one thing I think a lot of women don't think about is you have the weight of the baby pushing on your pelvic floor all the time. And so you add weight on top of it.
Oh, Erica, you froze.
Oh, no. Am I back?
Yeah, you're back.
Okay. Is that when you're pregnant, you have the weight of your baby inside your belly pressing down on your pelvic floor. And while the pelvic floor can be a strong muscle, and we can actually overwork our pelvic floor, so it's like, how do we find this happy balance? And it's hard, right? And that's where I don't want to get too off topic, but having physical therapists and all this stuff. But it is something that I feel like we open up this conversation that, Sarah, you and I can talk about a little bit. And it's not the most comfortable thing to talk about, but if you and I can't talk about it, then how can a mom at home who doesn't even understand anatomy as well talk about it? She can't, because she doesn't even know what's happening. And so this is why I become so passionate that this has to get out in the fitness industry, so that instructors understand the big reason why behind they need to start modifying things, and why and or when how to modify, basically, I guess is really what it comes down to.
So one of the moms just said, yes, she's on baby number 3. Yes, I pee every time I cough. Tara, if you don't mind sharing, I don't remember how postpartum you are, but I think one of the concerns, especially as a first-time mom, which I know is not you, Tara, but like sometimes you just think, well, is this normal because I did just have a baby? Like, is this just how it is after you have a baby? I think that's what a lot of women think. Like, maybe my abs just look like this now, or maybe I do just pee because all the moms I talk to, they all pee too. Right? I mean, I remember I had a family member who was a marathon runner tell me that after I had my baby and I was like trying to run, and I was like, I'm peeing, and she's like, oh, I mean, this is like a 50-plus-year-old woman at this point. She's like, Sarah, that's just how it is. And I was like, no,
yeah,
that can't be right. Like, I think I'll be able to run again and not pee.
right.
So Tara's 6 months postpartum, and she had said she pees a little bit when she coughs. When do we go, okay, this isn't working with Kegels? Like, there's an issue.
There is. So generally, like in the OBs I've talked to and the physical therapists, like in those first, 6-ish weeks postpartum, especially if you've had obviously a vaginal delivery, that's more normal in those first weeks postpartum. By 6 months postpartum, we should not be having any incontinence. So it could be a matter of taking a step back. Are we running? Are you lifting too heavy? When does it happen? So if it just happens during coughing or sneezing, is working more to try to get that pelvic floor deep core, that light connection. So if you feel it coming on, you can go ahead and lightly connect and contract the core before you cough, before you sneeze. Thinking about that, because if you cough and things aren't connected, that's when that little incontinence happens. But if you can connect with coughing and then cough and not have any incontinence, then the pelvic floor is not as weak as you might think it is.
Right. And you're moving in the right direction.
Yes, exactly. If you're able to run and having no incontinence, basically any exercise you do that you feel incontinent in, or feel pressure or pain or anything in the pelvic floor, or see coning of the belly, those are my guidelines as to like, you should not be doing that. And I don't like to say don't do something, because I just, I want to encourage people to move and to do things. But my biggest thing is, okay, well, what are you doing? Is there a way that we can work to feel our core connected more, and then move? Because some people just move and don't really have their core connected, so they just need to remind themselves, or have an instructor say, hey, let's make sure your core is activated right, and then we move, right? So you're supported in your pelvic floor and your TA, and you've got that support of your belly if you're pregnant, and you've got the support also of your abdomen, pelvic floor when you're postpartum. And sometimes it just comes down to, we need to adjust our core connection, we need to adjust our form, maybe we do need to decrease the weight a little bit, because it's really easy in this postpartum. I feel like so many women are so eager to like jump back in and get their body back and work hard. And it's kind of this whole, and the media doesn't help, right? With all of this, like, we've got to lose the baby weight, you've got to look good. But if you go too hard, too fast, you can set yourself drastically back. I'm always pulling my moms and being like, I know you want to do more, but you have to trust that you have to create a good, solid foundation first, and then we can move forward. Because if you go out and start running at 2 weeks postpartum because you think you're ready, your energy's good, and then all of a sudden, you start to feel more bulging in the pelvic floor, well, you've actually potentially caused more harm than good. And I don't say it to scare it, I say it because it's real, and it's not talked about, right? So,
right. I mean, I think if you think of it in terms of any other type of exercise, like, if you don't know how to do a good squat and a good plank, you're not going to go do a burpee. Like, that makes no sense if you don't know how to do the elements that are in that, right? Mm-hmm. If you don't know how to, I mean, you could put in any other thing. If you don't know how to cook I mean, I'm not a baker, so I don't even know what I'm talking about right now. But like, if you don't know how to, but you guys know what I'm saying. You could put it into any kind of language that would help your friends or your moms, if you are a personal trainer, understand it. Put it into something that makes sense for them,
Right.
right? Um, so I think that that's what's really important. And for those of you guys who are wanting to do more in terms of personal training and or you are working with moms, to me, that's what Erica does so well, because I obviously have a pre and postnatal exercise certification, but a lot of them just give you the do's and the don'ts. And that's
Mm-hmm.
where they stop. They'll say, and just so you guys know too, that our moms, and you're working with personal trainers or you're going to somebody's class and you don't know if they're pre or postnatal certified, my guess is the majority of those people have a certification that says, okay, these are the exercises that you don't want pregnant women to do. And by the way, they rarely even talk about postpartum women.
No.
And they'll say, just don't have them do these things. And they might give you a why, but what they don't give you, which is, what also my videos do, is then they give you replacement exercises. If you're going to say somebody don't do this, then give them something else that they can do. And
Right.
this is what Erica was out here in LA. And those of you guys who've heard me talk a lot about diastasis recti or diastasis recti, however you would like to say it, Kegel, Kegel. But one of the big signs of having an abdominal separation is a coning of the belly, which let's see if I can even, like, how can I show you guys? It's hard to show when I'm not actually doing a movement, but it's where it ends up looking like a football. It doesn't look like a round, beautiful baby belly. It starts to cone. And if you were to see me go into plank right now and not engage in a proper way, you would see my belly go that. And I mean, I can post pictures here in the comments to show you guys what we're talking about. But when Erica was here, her and I were shooting some stuff together, and what she was really able to get me to do was to get that coning to a little bit disappear, so at least I could go into plank for a little bit. Because I think, for so many of us that love plank exercises specifically, you're like, don't take my planks away.
Right.
And yes, you can do the modified, but I mean, even for a few moments there in a regular plank, I was able to connect even deeper than I know how to do on my own, because sometimes it's just, I mean, hey, I love having a personal trainer as much as everybody else.
Don't we?
That's what Erica is able to do. That I have not seen a pre and postnatal certification teach trainers how to get people to connect in that way. So if that's something that you are, really looking to do, because to tell your avid exercisers, just don't do anything. Like just avoid like all that stuff in general, and be able to really say no. But I can teach you how to connect, so that you can. Maybe you don't do it as often, or maybe you don't do it as for as long. We're not holding like a minute plank, but maybe just for a second you can get your what's the word I'm looking for?
Get your core engaged properly.
Yeah, but I mean,
still...
it's the feeling you get from that, like, yes, I was able to do that even though I'm pregnant, right? Because sometimes we just feel like we can't do anything when we're pregnant.
Right, yeah. And so
I'm seeing here. I'm just seeing here from another instructor who's also pregnant, actually. I auditioned at Equinox, and when the people asked if anyone had an injury or was pregnant, and when I said I was, no one gave any modifications. Yeah, Maggie, that is a problem, because most of them, and I do understand where the instructors are coming from. If they don't know, then they sometimes don't say anything at all. And it's a problem in the industry. It really is.
It is, yeah. And that's so...
So yeah, if you want to talk more about what I was talking about with what your program does to kind of take it a step farther than maybe a normal certification program.
Yeah, so it's a really comprehensive course. It's not a quick in and out, it is comprehensive. It is so much information, but it's so much good information. I lay down a lot of research foundation, so you can understand the research that is out there to help back the reasoning behind a lot of it. We review anatomy because it's so important, specifically more like female anatomy, pelvis. And I talk about the deep core, the pieces of the deep core, so we can see and you can really understand how it all works together. And then I tie in fascia. Fascia is a big, 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 big piece of this course that I'm teaching. And I like to really educate so that you can understand how you can modify exercises that you already teach. If you didn't learn any exercises from me, but you learn all the foundational concepts that I teach, you can take it and apply it to any single exercise, understand, number one, if it's a good exercise, and if it is, well, then how may it need to be modified so that her body's in the right position? She's not creating coning. She doesn't feel any incontinence. Her body doesn't hurt. It feels good, right? So how can we...
For the moms that are on here that aren't fitness oriented, when you're talking about fascia, can you explain to them what specifically you mean in terms of how that affects pregnancy?
Okay, so fascia is connective tissue that runs through your entire body. Basically, if you took the fascia of the body and took everything else out and just had the fascia, you would see like the shape of the body because it covers from like your pinky all the way down your arm. You feel like these spiral lines. So I teach a lot in like lines and not just pieces. So yes, we talk anatomy, which is important because I want to review that, but then I want to challenge instructors. And as a mom, when you move, feeling the movement through your entire body. And when we can get to that next level, your deep core fires better. You have support of your lumbar, your low back. You feel so much more connected and stronger. And then when you start to feel that fascial connection through your body, you all of a sudden realize, I don't need a lot of weight to really challenge my body to make it strong and stable, especially around the pelvis and the hips, because I don't know about you, but pregnancy really makes those hips loosey-goosey through there, right? And you get a lot of back pain because the sacrum is like pulling in and we get that pinching at the sacrum. So when we learn how to connect the deep core properly and move appropriately with as good of posture as possible, obviously things are changing, then now all of a sudden you realize, okay, wow, I feel good, my body feels strong, and oh, I didn't have to go lift a lot of weight and I didn't have to work out super intense because during pregnancy it doesn't take a lot to get your heart rate up. It doesn't take a lot to make you sweat.
What?
And I
Woo,
cover
not right now.
and I cover those, we go through those physiological changes because my biggest thing, and I've always said this with any of my instructor courses, is that I will teach why. If as an instructor, you can't understand the reasoning why you're picking an exercise that you are, then maybe it's not a great exercise. You have to understand why. And if we don't understand the physiological changes that are happening to the body, then it's harder to explain the why behind things. We can talk about, can you go work out if it's hotter outside? Well, maybe not. You know what I mean? Like there's all this stuff. Instead of just saying no, really understand why the answer is no, or maybe it's a yes. And maybe for one pregnant mom, it's a no. And maybe for another pregnant mom, it's a yes, because there is such a range of what one pregnant mom can do versus another, depending on how her pregnancy goes, how she's feeling that day, what she's capable of doing prior to pregnancy. And for those moms that start working out when she's pregnant, her pregnancy is going healthy, her doctors approved her to work out, we need to understand how we can actually make our moms stronger during pregnancy. And that's not talked about. I feel like it's always been, we gotta kind of baby our pregnant moms. And it's like, no, you can work her and you can work her hard, but we have to know how to do it safely and effectively. If you can't tell, I'm starting to get on my like soapbox here. I get a lot fired up about stuff, but it's understanding the reasoning behind why we do what we do as a fitness professional, because I worked with such a range of pregnant moms, postpartum moms, and some of my prenatal moms, especially if she's been doing Pilates for a long time prior to getting pregnant, we can do more advanced exercises a lot longer through her pregnancy because her fascia and her deep core are conditioned for that. And now if I have a newer mom that comes to me, she's so much stronger that day she goes to deliver her baby that she's like, oh my gosh, I didn't know I even had this strength. Like she sees muscle in her body that she didn't when she first got pregnant. And I feel like that is something that is unheard of in the whole prenatal realm. It's kind of
and I think that's another reason why too is, I'm sure that everybody that's listening, somebody that said this, or maybe it's been you, and trust me, it's not that I don't get it, but I think a lot of moms, especially if they're thinking about having more children, will sometimes say, oh, well, I'm not going to fix it because I'm just going to have another baby. And yes. I get it because I've been there, and postnatal recovery is so hard, and you're like, well, if I'm just going to get pregnant and get big again, like, well, why bother? But especially if you do have something like diastasis or prolapse, think about how much worse that's going to get if you don't fix it. And I think that's what you're talking about too, is that once you do fix it and then you go into a pregnancy with that much more knowledge, mentally and physically, you can make so much better choices. I mean, I can say that as going through a third pregnancy and making some very different choices this time, specifically because of how my body feels this time around, but also because I had a diastasis recti from my second pregnancy. And I think that my body actually is stronger. Even if I don't look as fit on the outside, I feel like I can do so much more because of the way I'm moving and the knowledge base that I have. So I don't know, Erica, and I know this isn't really what we're talking about today on the broadcast, but I don't know when you're launching your core rehab program again, but
May 1st.
May 1st? Okay,
yeah,
and I'll put the link to that too, you all, but her pregnancy brain, her core exercise specialist course is available now. And Fatima, I know you said you wish that she could do something like that in Sri Lanka. You can take your courses anywhere in the world because it's all virtual, correct?
Yeah, it's all online, which is why I put it on. I've taught it in person in the past, and because I had such a pull of so many people, like, I want to take it, but I can't get to you, I was like, okay, we have to get this online because this needs to be out there in the world for moms to know, because this is yes, it's designed for instructors, but I also know there's a lot of women out there, when you get pregnant, there's so much, good and maybe not so great information that this really, if you want to learn it all, you're going to learn it all. You're going to learn a lot.
So the core rehab one, that is for you guys that are, it doesn't mean you're a new mom. It means that you are a mom and your body has not healed. It doesn't feel right. Maybe there's things that don't look right and you want to fix those things. Especially you guys who are talking about like coughing while you're peeing, or maybe, you still feel like you have a mummy tummy. That core rehab program is perfect for you guys if you don't want to, have to mess with all the instructor and trainer stuff. Shoot, I was gonna say something else about, I don't know. I forget. It was something about the exercise course. My brain is seriously deteriorating, and he's like.
Pregnancy brain is so real.
It's so real.
It's so real. And then you have mommy brain.
You have
so
two
really,
other
does it ever come back?
I know, right?
It does get better when your kids start sleeping a little bit more. It really.
I'm sure. When they are like, how old are your kids now?
10, 8, and 5. So we sleep finally in this house, which is nice. Yeah.
Well, you guys, thank you so much. If you have questions, everyone's saying I feel your mommy brain. I think the fog is the worst part. Yeah. So Erica's gonna develop a course next about how to solve mommy brain.
Yes, I'll try.
You guys, but you know what? That said, I mean, jokes aside, I do feel like when your body is intact and you're connected physically, the mental part of it does improve, right? I mean, wouldn't you say that?
Yeah, and there's knowledge is power, right? So the more you can really learn and understand, not just about the knowledge itself, but about your body. And I teach this to my instructors. I'm like, try this stuff on yourself, because if you're going to teach it, you really need to try it. Even male trainers, you've got to try to feel that internal connection, because I can tell you the way I feel my deep core, I didn't feel it that way when I was pregnant with my 10-year-old 10 years ago. It's evolved over time, and it is something that it takes time to develop, because it purely takes time from a cellular level to develop new cells, to have more fascia, to create more muscle, so you have to be patient and just start learning, because knowledge is power. And there's just so much that I feel like it's just as people in general, right? And as a professional, we're always trying to better ourselves and learn more about ourselves, about our profession, whatever it is. So it's, you will learn it all in that course. If you have any interest in prenatal training, and then of course I cover postpartum, because it's so important to understand what a woman goes through during birth. And I think as a fitness professional, you don't have to specialize with prenatal, but this is something, if you work with females, because here's what it comes down to, right? As a fitness professional, if you don't specialize, but you don't have to, right? But you work with females either before they get pregnant or after they get pregnant. If you don't understand what goes on in that realm, then again, you could possibly be doing more harm than good. So when we understand what goes on through pregnancy, what goes on through labor and birth, and yes, we talk about it because it's important, then you can understand with especially that postpartum phase, or as a mom, when you go back to say a boot camp or whatever workouts it is postpartum, that you know your body's really ready. There's nothing wrong with modifying. I always encourage my moms and my clients, if they're doing other workouts, I'm like, listen to your body because it will tell you if you're overdoing it. But we have to listen to it and not.
Well, and my fog is cleared a little bit. My fog cleared a little bit, and that was what I was going to say before. Is a lot of times when people ask me why I got pre and postnatal certified way back when, I'm trying the very first course I took, and but it selfishly was, I knew, and those of you guys who've seen my broadcast, you know this about me. I always knew that I wanted to be a mom. And I also knew I was always going to love fitness, and I was always going to want to work out. And to me, it was so important that I was going to be able to do that in the right way, because I knew I was going to want to do a lot. And that first pregnancy, trust me, I did a lot. And I am so glad that I went in there with the basis of really knowing, at least at that time, what we knew, which isn't as much as we know now. But what we knew was safe. And that's why when Erica says, even if you're not an instructor or trainer, or don't think you'll ever want to be, but you're just like a fitness fanatic, these are the things that are going to keep your body safe and intact by going to that next level. And the other thing I just want to mention too is, you guys, a lot of these courses, for everything that Erica gives you in this course, and she can talk about it here in a second, I think is really affordable, because there are some courses out there that are extraordinary. There's some out there that are cheaper, but you're not going to get the knowledge base that you need. But then there's some out there that are so extraordinary that you're like breaking the bank. So I think Erica's priced this really smartly. Do you want to talk about what you get in the course?
Sure. Yeah. So I've got two different options. They both have the course. You get the online course, which I'm opening things up every week starting the 24th. And when you join right now, you get access to the first 3 phases, which is over 4 hours of content. And with taking notes and all that, it'll take you a little bit longer. So there's a lot of information, and I tried to break it up so you don't feel like you have to do it all at once. I want you to take it step by step. That's the reason it's designed in 12 sections and over 8 weeks, because it is a lot, but it's so amazing. I don't want you to skip any of it. So you get the course, online course, and you have the option to have a certification. To get the certification, though, I want to be clear on this, is that you have to have some other base certification, whether it's a personal trainer cert, a Pilates cert, a yoga, for me to actually give you a cert. Because as a standalone, I feel like you need to have that base knowledge.
But you can still take the course.
You can still take the course.
Yes. And that, you guys, by the way, that's industry standards. Like, that's not even just like Erica making up stuff. That's industry standards.
Yeah, so the certification, if you're not a trainer, just ignore that, okay? And there are quizzes. You don't have to take those either. That's really for the instructors that are on that certification track, but it's all in the same course. And then I have a VIP option because I love coaching calls. I love coaching calls, because you're learning all this online, and then we get together online. It's all virtual, right? But and we can really talk these things out. So questions that come up for instructors that have actual clients that we can talk some real life case studies. We can really get to talk things out. And I found in my other course I've done, that's so powerful, because you can specialize it a little bit more. So if there are specific questions,
that's what you don't get. I mean, that's why I'm excited. I was, when I was texting you last night, that's why I'm excited to go through it too, because you guys, just so you know, you don't get that when you go to like an ACE or an AFA or my AFPA. When you do those type of certifications, they are great. They give you the foundations, but there's nobody to reach out to. There's no contact, like our head of pre and postnatal. That's not there. And I would also say, because I know some of you guys on here do specialize in pre and postnatal. Like, if that's your specialty, you got to keep learning. And the more people you learn from, because there might be let's just say there's like 100 new things that I learned from Erica. I'm probably going to take 50 of them and really practice them. and decide that they're for me. And I've taken, 50 from somebody else and whatever. You guys understand what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're a newer instructor or a newer trainer, I've learned from so many people over my 15 plus years in this industry because I've taken a little bit from all the people that have mentored me, and that's what's made me, right? So I would really, even if you've done other certs and other courses, why not learn from somebody new? Especially because I know Erica's specialty is Pilates, which I've only realized now in my third pregnancy how many of those foundations of Pilates are so applicable to everything else that I do. So anyway, that's that's my little recommendation.
Thank you, Sarah. Yeah, the coaching calls are just they're really priceless because I'm like, and I want to be able to always offer that as, when we open the course, because it's so important to be able to talk it out. I mean, it's like you could be reading something, and again, if you print out that workbook, and as you're going through the course, take down notes, right? If you have a question that comes up, maybe it gets answered later on, maybe it doesn't. Maybe it's something that you're like, oh, well, that's really interesting. Do you know more about this? And again, if it's outside of my scope, I'll let you know. And a lot of what I've dove in and learned a lot more too over the years is about that deep core, the pelvic floor, because even some of that's beyond, a lot of this is beyond even just a basic Pilates training as well. That's where I really try to pull in the best of best. Like Sarah says, you learn from a lot of amazing people, and you pull in what you really want to apply to your training, and it makes you the best trainer you can be in that aspect as well. So we all kind of have our specialties, and always continuing to learn and grow. And so it's so great. I'm so excited to be able to have this and get this course out there. So
Yay!
thank you, Sarah.
So if you want to do that VIP stuff and you guys want to get the best price, you got to sign up by April 24th. Yep. And then for my moms on here that just want to fix your core, the core rehab launches on May 1st. I know a bunch of you guys that follow me did it last time and had just some really great results and new knowledge base that you didn't have before. So stay tuned for that. I'm sure you'll hear me bring that up sometime here in the next couple weeks. Anything else, Erica?
Gosh, I feel like I could talk all day about it, but I feel like we covered a lot of amazing information. So yeah, I mean, if anyone has any questions, feel free to write them below, and I can check back too and try to answer some here. Sarah can answer.
I'll tag Erica. Yeah, I'll tag her in the stuff that we need her to answer. So thanks, you guys. Good. You all know I was so glad to have Erica on here. I'm vlogging. I'm doing my own personal business challenge, which is vlogging every day in April. So
I saw that.
I'm so glad to do it with you today. That's so much more fun. And thanks to all you guys that were on here. I know we had we had a few pregnant moms, we had some personal trainers and instructors and some veteran moms. So thanks you guys for joining us and your great feedback. Again, if you're watching the replay, even if it's on YouTube, write your comments in the section below or your questions and we will get back to you.
Thanks.
All right, thanks, Erica.
Bye.